Welcome to Empower and Ignite Transformation Podcast with Alicia and Nicole. How are you, Alicia?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So I am excited. Your smile looks so cute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So today's topic, right? We just gonna dive right in. Oh, not before I say, if you are new to our channel, please like and subscribe and share. For those that are new to our channel, and if you are already a subscriber, we appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So let's
Yeah.
dive on in.
Okay. So oftentimes, I notice that if someone is going through a transition and changing, right, they may be challenged with it. So I thought today's topic would be good as it relates to just talking about change. Change is inevitable, what that might look like for people, why sometimes people may be hesitant with it, but the benefits of what change would do for someone. And so just really kind of going through the process of transitioning, right? Because that's what change is. It's really where you transition, and where I like to talk about no one would stay the same, right? And so change is just inevitable. It's something that is going to happen. So embracing it and just really, that's the topic today. Let's dive in and get at it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that this is an important topic, right? Because like you said, change is going to happen. There's no stopping the idea of change. And then we're going to change in careers, we're going to change in relationship, our friendships, they change. Individuals change, which changes the relationship, right? And
Yeah.
even goals, like we may have had a goal, like, when we were in kindergarten, we said we wanted to grow up and walk on the moon, but now we may have a different goal. We have changed as individuals, right? And so when you say that those changes are inevitable, they're going to come, they're so important because when we change and understand change and accept change, then our emotional needs is more taken care of as well.
Yeah, definitely. So when we think about transitioning, right, I always say to clients when they may come to me and they're like, this started to change for me. So in a transition, we're always hopefully evolving, right, and growing, right? You don't want to stay stagnated. You want to evolve. So that will require a change. That will require a transition. You would be moving forward sometimes in that, people just really being able to accept that for themselves, what that looks like. I think that sometimes when people are, say, if they're in a work field, and I
Mhm.
get a lot of clients that might be referred through employee assistance programs, right? Things don't stay the same at work. So then they have a time with adapting to change. They may come in seeing me because no longer are things the same at work and it's challenging for them. I always take clients through the change and transition that happens in life and in anything is because it's likely either not working or a better way has been presented and you want to see if that new way that would work, and so it will require for things not to stay the same you know
Right,
so
right.
definitely, so often people are thinking that, or you can be challenged with having to adapt.
Mhm.
But I want people to hopefully take away that it just would be where it makes sense
Yes.
that you would change over time, that things wouldn't be the same. You would find better ways to do things, but then also, even in yourself, as you are self-aware and just like wanting to grow and develop, you likely are not going to do the same things that you once did.
No, no. And that's so true, right? Because different experiences, they shape who we are and they change us over time. So, hopefully, right, what we're doing in our teenage years, we're not doing in our 20s, and what we're doing in our 20s, we're evolving as we go to our
Right.
30s, and we're getting better at this in our 40s, right? It's
Yeah.
almost one of the things that, just keep trying.
Mhm.
Like change is okay.
Keep
It's okay to
living.
go back to it.
Yeah. Keep living. Like keep,
Yes.
because that really is where how you thought about things
Hmm.
as a 20-year-old. You're not likely still thinking that way at 40, like you said. That's not even, and that comes from experience. That is because you become wiser.
Hmm.
And so then you would have changed the way that you think about things, which would ultimately change the way you go about doing things.
Right,
So
right.
that's so key. I think that that's really important that, you brought that piece up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, going back to almost like the workplace example, when you have different things that's changing, such as policies, or maybe your job roles have switched, and that changes like, oh my goodness, it's too much. It may feel overwhelming. It's just now it's time to look at, but why do it feel overwhelming? Right.
Yeah.
And, I always go to those why questions to ask yourself, right, to help process. Why do I feel that this change is a lot? Why do I feel that this change feel, heavy, overwhelming? Why don't I like it? Why don't I like the
Right.
change?
Yeah, definitely. That's important. And I'm glad that you said that because you really do want to process. What is it that has me hesitant or having the emotion that I don't want to change or I'm reluctant? What do I think this would, do or not do, And sometimes it's fear. Sometimes people really are afraid of change.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
not knowing sometimes because they're afraid of the unknown.
Yeah. And that's a big one right there because fear keeps us kind of stuck. We'll
Yeah,
just, get fear, and then we'll just get stuck into a place where we're not moving, we're not building, we're not even reaching those goals like we want to. And so that's why it's so big to not let that fear keep you stuck, right? You got
yeah,
to keep pushing, got to keep going, keep hitting those goals. And that comes with change. If it doesn't work right, maybe we changed one little piece of it and now it's working great. And so it's so important to make sure that we are focusing on moving, and the moving is change.
that is so true. Definitely. And looking at it from a different perspective of change is a benefit and it can be something that is positive versus looking at it in a negative.
Right, right. And that's really true because that change is growth. um and that growth is beautiful. It could be beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I
even when
agree.
you think about people, right? And they're like, well, I've been told that I've changed. And I would say to clients, or even personal relationships, okay, you were told that you changed. And so is
Mhm.
that a negative? They're not liking the new you. And it's okay that you wouldn't be the same. You know how sometimes when you have friends since you were young and you like, as you guys get older, and they're like, well, you used to do this or that. Yes, I used to.
Right.
I no longer do that. And it's okay if I no longer do that. Some relationships will not be for the whole lifespan, right? So some people is in your life for seasons. They
Mhm.
won't be there for the whole lifespan. So I think sometimes people are not comfortable in realizing that, wow, relationships will likely end. Some will.
Mhm.
Especially if it is where the relationships were conditioned upon you being a certain way, or
Oh,
if you were doing certain things and you no longer do those things, so you don't have the same interest and compatibility.
right,
So
right.
those reasons of why a relationship could possibly end, sometimes people are wanting to stay the same because they're not wanting relationships to end.
Yes, yes, and I think that's a big part that you said, that they don't want relationships to end, or they don't want the feeling of leaving someone behind, or, even feeling left behind, right? And so that fear right there keeps them, stagnated there. But I think you made some really good points, because it kinda hurts us as individuals when people show up different. If they don't show up the same way, it hurts, because we expect someone to show up the exact same way, because he she have always been there for me. Anytime I call, they always answer the phone. However, somebody else on this other side is looking for me to show up the exact same way, and unfortunately I can't show up the exact same way. So the same way that I need that grace, we have to remember to give that grace out to others. People,
Right.
they're going to change. What going on in their life changes, and so the way that they show up for you may not be the same. It may change, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that the love is gone, or there's a problem between us. No, maybe we was friends because we loved art, and now that I'm no longer into art, that's fine. You can go to the art festivals. You're just not my friend to go to the art festivals with, and
Right.
that's okay.
Yes, definitely. Finding other interests that you may have in common and just accepting each other differences.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right, and when you put yourself out there to do that, you would also be surprised the people you meet too, right?
Hmm.
Instead of, staying in this little circle and changing our routine, changing, where we go, the different things that we do as hobbies, we're gonna meet new people, and those new people contribute to our network. They could contribute to even, the social, the business, but any type. But it's just, you never know who you can meet by just changing this a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. I go back to change is inevitable. Change is a benefit in the sense of you growing. It's not, for you to look at it as, okay, so if I transition into this person or if I no longer do this or that, then that means something that's not positive. Growth comes out of, definitely you experiencing new things and changing and being open to um like trying new things,
Right.
not staying in the same routine of things. So looking at it from a different perspective of this can be positive. This is a positive thing. Unless it is, of course, you change to the negative and something, then definitely, of course, that will make sense. But if it is really related to growth, if it is where you're evolving and you're like, hey, I learned something new. I've
Mhm.
taken like limits off of me. I'm not just really like, okay, this is the all I can do or this is all I know. I'm really open to learning new things. That's a good thing.
It's not a it's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to challenge yourself. It's a great thing to show up in each seasons of your life a little bit differently, and to, even if it's last season, maybe I chose an unhealthy relationship. Maybe this next season I'm going to change, and I'm going to heal from, you know, past hurt, past, trauma, things of that nature, so I can show up more healed for the next
Right.
relationship, right? That change is great. That change is beautiful.
Yes. Because that experience taught you something. And
Right.
from you learning, you no longer likely will do or put yourself in situations that
Mm,
are not healthy and that is negative. So that will be a positive for sure.
right. And
Yeah.
even the idea of like letting go old habits, right? We all have these old habits where, we may be doing things that, don't protect our peace.
Mm,
That change in finding our peace is a good thing, right?
yeah.
Breaking some of those bad habits just because, we've been doing it a whole long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still a bad habit, and it's okay to say, "You know what? Today is the day that I stop that," right? And it's
Definitely.
time for me to heal. It's time for me to work on, to better myself, so I'm not still going with the same habits that, again, I don't like, because, of course, only you can set that, you know, parameter. What don't you like? What is the thing that is bothering you? And if that needs to change, then growth is beautiful.
Yes. And I always say, when someone is asking that, like, how is that serving you? Whatever it is that you're doing, right? You know, so you can take a look at your, behaviors and things of that nature, like relationships. How is that serving you?
And that's a
Yeah.
really big question right there, right? Because we get into relationships and then, it could be a I'm giving all my time, all my money, all my effort. I'm giving, I'm giving. How is it serving you in return? Are they giving back? Is there, something that you feel like you can rely on them as much as they rely on you? Do you need to change how much you are? And, where do you put those boundaries in place? Would that help also? So yes, I agree, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
So definitely, I hear you saying, okay, so is the relationship reciprocated? Like, am I getting what I need as well as am I giving what I should be giving? But then also, even when you think about behaviors of a person, right? I heard you say, okay, so sometimes people may want to change how they behave and do certain things because they need to know, is this really positive for me? Is this serving me in a good way? Is this healthy? And so if it's not, it will make sense that you would make necessary changes. I think that people should ensure that they're not limiting themselves and thinking just because they've done something for so long a certain way that they can't do things differently.
Yeah.
But also, if they take it on how they were taught growing up or modeling behavior from parents, guardians, that I don't have to do it their way. It's more than one way, and I need to find the best way for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's so important because what you're saying is adjustment takes time. You can't just jump up to change, "I feel okay with it." Sometime it is an adjustment period, and that's okay. That's okay that the adjustment is taking time to go through that to accept the change, but we have to make sure while we're adjusting, we're moving right along because that change is still going to happen.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. So we got to kind of make sure we're still moving right along as we adjust, as we catch up to how we're feeling about it, and even creating that new space. Because a lot of times when something change, it opens a different opportunity, a different door. It closes something. If it's like change as an end of a relationship, it closes doors, things of that nature, which again, never always a bad thing, of course,
Right.
as we say, unless you kind of take a downward turn, right? But anything that's with growth, it changes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, being open is what I'm hearing you say. Like you have to be open to learning new things, to new experiences, to being okay with if this no longer serves you, when to close one door to allow another door to open.
Right, right. And then it's, also let's talk about when it's difficult,
Mm.
those difficult changes. What do it teach us?
Yeah. Sometimes it's change that you didn't want, right?
Mhm.
And so that can be difficult. Sometimes whether it's, oh, I didn't want to transition into this new role, or I no longer wanted to have, or I didn't want this relationship. We talked about relationships ending, but also it's just really, you might not have wanted something, whether it was a move, whatever that might be, that you had no control over the change. So
Right.
sometimes you really don't have control over the change. It's not an option. And
Hmm.
so then now you have to adapt and you have to sit with the emotions that comes up because likely when change happens and it's not in your control and you didn't want it, you're going to grieve.
Yes. Yes. And I think you made some great points, right? Because it's that discomfort and sitting in it, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of times we run from the the uncomfortable feeling of just sitting in our own feelings and emotions. We don't want to kind of just rest there and actually process what we're actually feeling. And
Right.
so that discomfort, right? We
Hmm.
kind of we kind of shy away from it. But that change, like you said, it teaches us resilience. It teaches us to
Hmm.
keep kind of trying at things. It reveals our strength. It reveals how
Right.
strong you are by being able to adapt to change, if it's good change or bad change, right? In a sense of like the grief of things, the end of relationships, or
Mhm.
the great thing of, like you said, that promotion that you're not really ready to take on those responsibilities, right? That's a good change, but it's a heavy change.
Right.
It shows our strength. It shows our strength to be able to adapt either way.
Yeah, definitely. And then too, it allows you to identify your comfortability, where you need to develop, what emotions is coming up and why. The self-awareness piece. Hmm.
That self-awareness piece is big, and
Yeah.
that does happen with change because you can see, of course, where you were to where you are, you can see that change, right? And when you set those goals or those, w- the idea of what you want, and you're like, I'm changing to, let's say, lose weight, and that's the goal, and I'm going to do it, and you hit the gym and you start to see the change. What
Hmm.
does it do? It motivates you to kind of keep going. It motivates you to call a friend and be like, girl, I just lost all this weight on this workout plan, you should join in, right?
Right.
Change can be great.
Yeah.
Change can be
Because you might
beautiful.
not see it instantly, but over time, right? Because you stand at it, you being consistent. What I'm hearing you say is, you might not have wanted to have to go to the gym or make the changes necessary to get the goal. But once you started to do it and see results,
That's a beautiful thing.
it
That's a
definitely
beautiful
is,
thing.
right? It
And
is.
that's almost the same thing with emotions when you process and you heal from some of those, you know, past traumas and them things that's kind of just weighing you down. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Like you said, it's 100% a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I think a big piece and a takeaway is that change is inevitable, adapting and being open.
Yes, that is a huge takeaway, right? Because we don't want anyone to shy away from the idea and allow the room for others to grow as well, right? We
Yeah.
want to give them space because sometimes when they distance themselves, it's not they're mad at you, they're upset, they don't love you the same. Maybe they're in their season of growth. And
Hmm.
if they are, we need to allow them to have that space, give them that space to grow because we all, went through our seasons. We all
Yeah.
said we wanted to do something different, something better, and we have strived to reach that. So, give others people that
Yeah.
same grace, that same way to evolve themselves the way that they see fit without
Mhm.
burdening them with the you're not the same. Who are you? Why can't you do this like you used to? Pull
Right.
back some of those, negative comments and allow them to grow into who they want to inspire to be.
Yeah. So I hear you say support.
Support. It's one simple word, right? Support
Uh-huh.
others, and that's so big, so big. Support others.
Yeah. On their journey, because everybody
Mhm.
has their own individual life. And so that's so important to allow people to live their lives out to the fullest and do what it is that they're desiring to do and just support.
Yes, yes, that is so big. That support is gonna be huge. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, like, when we talk about change is a very good topic. Change is a very good topic to kinda hit on. Change is one of those things that, what in the world will not change?
Right. And it's inevitable.
So,
And I
you
think that
know
that's another thing that people might sometimes think like, oh, I don't have anything that I want to talk about, or that's not something that really is, important. But it really
Mhm.
is because it's a big
Right.
factor in your
Right.
life, in your day to day.
Mhm.
You would always like be evolving, hopefully. You shouldn't be the same year after year.
Correct, correct. And that transformation that you go through
Mhm.
is hopefully bettering you, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we want everyone to do. We want everyone to be able to adjust to the change emotionally, and not struggle with that process, and just, find a way to be able to express themselves as they go through their change to say, hey, I need support, or I'm willing to give support when they can.
Definitely. And so, if you are one that maybe feel like you don't have the support, empower and ignite transformation is here to support you through
Yeah.
your change. We will empower you, and we are here. We're going to ignite that transformation. You know, we want you to grow.
I love that. I love that so much.
I was like, that's
Yes,
cute.
that was so cute, so cute. And so, as we always gonna say, of course, send in new topics because again, if we want to talk about empowering, if we want to talk about igniting, then come on, let's do this and let's start on the transformation, right?
Yeah,
So, yes, let's do it together.
I love that, Alicia. Okay, until next time. But remember, subscribe and share. Take care.